Welcome back. You're watching the ET Money Show with me, Kavita Thakliyal, and this is the last leg of the show where there are plethora of funds available in the market to invest your hard-earned money. But how do you assess which is the right fund for your portfolio? What are the criteria that one should look at? To help you navigate through this maze, we have on board Arnav Pandya, founder Money IQ School. Also, do not forget to send us your portfolio queries on our WhatsApp number, which is 865-797-4571. You can also email us your queries on the Money Show at etnow.tv. All right, so let's move on and connect with our first viewer, which is Mr. S. Nagaraj from Bangalore. Hi, good evening, sir. How are you doing?
I'm doing fine.
Thank you so much for sending us your query. Please ask your question.
And thanks for taking my query. Madam, I have two grandchildren. One is 3 years old and the granddaughter is 1 year old.
Okay.
I want to invest through SIP a sum of rupees 30K every month.
Okay.
And for both of them.
Okay.
So I want you to suggest combination of mutual funds.
Okay. Also, this is going to be like for their future. So the time horizon could be
future,
15, 20
years.
Okay. Got it.
Yeah.
Got it. So what are the funds that you will recommend, Arnav?
So, the good part is that the goal is very clearly defined. It is for a long-term investment for the grandchildren. So you have a very clear idea that since this is a long time period, you can make use of equity-oriented funds for this purpose. The second part is that you can have an actual portfolio of funds which are here, whereby at least it can be ensured that there is exposure across different market caps. So my choice would be a total of around 4 funds from different categories. There can be one large cap fund, one flexi cap fund, one mid cap and one small cap fund. So in the large cap category, the choice can be either between SBI Blue Chip or Pru ICICI Blue Chip. The flexi cap fund, I would suggest going in for something like a value oriented strategy fund like Parak Parik Flexi Cap. In case of a mid cap fund, it can be something like a Kotak Emerging Equities, which is a strong, stable, consistent performing mid cap fund. And in the small cap space, you can go for something like a Nippon India Small Cap, which has a large holding. It is a low risk taking fund. So even though you have an exposure to small caps, the risk is minimized. If you create this kind of portfolio, you will have a balance within the portfolio. Create this, keep tracking this at every 6 monthly intervals and see if the funds are performing well enough. And if required, give every fund a period of 2 to 3 years before you make any change. And then this can go on and the wealth can accumulate over the long time period.
All right. So the amount over here that will be invested is 30,000, and the time frame is really long. So monitoring the fund would be once in 2 years. Is that what you recommended? Is it also recommended to stay put in a fund for such a long period?
So two things here. One is I think the amount is 30,000 per child, so it should come to 60,000, if I'm not mistaken. If that is the case, then if you have 4 funds, you can have 15,000 in each of the 4 funds. Second part is that the initial monitoring, once you set up the fund, you can then monitor it or take a look at it every 6 months. So the first monitoring can be after a year. You don't need to look at it immediately. But after that, you can keep looking at it 6 months to see whether things are going fine. And there is, as I said, I mean, you don't need to immediately change even if things are not going right. Give at least 3 years to a fund so that even the lows or the troughs of a fund are taken care of. And then if it consistently underperforms for a long period of time, then a change is warranted. Now, if you look at the time horizon, which is around 15 years, so in that case, a 3-year time period is just a very small part of it. So even though 3 years might look long, it is, I would suggest, the right frame only after which you should make some changes.
Mr. Nagaraj, is there anything else you want to ask?
Yeah, I just, nothing. He suggested SBI Blue Chip and the other one is value.
Could you please repeat, Arnav?
No, it's I mean, you can choose either between SBI Blue Chip or Pru ICICI Blue Chip. Both are large cap funds. You can choose
Yeah.
either one in the category, but SBI Blue Chip is a good fund.
All right. So, if at all you have missed out any fund's name, may I just request you to watch the show on our channel's YouTube? You will get the show over there, and you can also check out the names again.
thank
you
you.
so much for sending
Thank
us
you.
your
Thank
query.
you.
Thank you. Next, we have Dr. Sridhar online with us. Dr. Sridhar, how are you doing?
I'm fine, madam.
Thank you so much for sending us your query. Please, yeah, go on.
Actually, I need to ask for my retirement, which is after 25 years of now.
Okay.
So I want to plan. So right now I'm planning with 20,000 SIP.
Okay.
So what would be the purpose after 25 years? I want to know that. And the assessment of the funds. So whether it is fine or something. So I need to ask about it.
All right, 20,000 per month you're investing, sir. I want to understand what will be your retirement corpus that you want to accumulate. 1 crore. 1 crore term plan you already have. But what's the retirement corpus?
Sorry?
What will be your retirement corpus that you want to accumulate through this investment?
Right now, I want to know actually what would be the amount. So
You want to know the
probably
approximate
do this
amount that you can...
for-
Okay.
Yes.
Got it. I'll just repeat your funds. You have ICICI Sensex Fund, Kotak Emerging Equity, Axis Small Cap, and Canara Tax Saver Fund. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. Have you been consulting any financial advisor?
No, I am doing it on my own. So after seeing your show and some other things, so I added this portfolio on my own.
All right. Since how long you've been investing in these funds?
Since 2 years.
Since last 2 years. Okay. Did you try increasing your SIP amount as well?
I am doing as an income is present.
All right. Is there any other question, Arnav, you want to ask Sridhar to get a better sense of what he exactly wants?
No, the main point was about the corpus which he wants to accumulate, but
Right.
actually he wants to know what the corpus he might get with these funds. So, if you look at the time horizon which is available, there is a long period available which is 25 years. Now, if you are making an investment of around say 20,000 per month, and this is say growing at a compounded rate of say 12% over this next 25 years, then you will be close to around 3.8 crores in terms of the actual amount which you have accumulated at that point of time. So the question now is whether that amount after 25 years will be good enough in terms to meet or comply with the standard of living which you actually want. Because 3.8 or around say 4 crores if you take it might look very large in today's terms, but 25 years on with the effect of inflation, it might not remain that large. So the main point here is that the start has been good because there is a sum of 20,000 being invested each month. But this is not enough because over a period of time, the investment has to increase. And that will take care of the inflation effect, which will be felt on the portfolio amount and the corpus that is accumulated. So as the investment amount is increased, then 1 or 2 more funds can be added at a later stage. At the moment, if you look at the portfolio, it is pretty well spread out in terms of it has a good, strong, large cap exposure, mid cap, small cap, everything is there. But later on, a flexi cap fund can also be added as the amount which is available for investment increases. And I think that should be at least the level at which the number of funds are capped. No need to keep adding more and more funds. Around 4 to 5 funds are more than enough. And then the higher amount can just go into the existing funds, along with the monitoring that goes on at regular time intervals.
All right, Dr. Sridhar, any other question you want to ask Arnav?
I want to ask basically, so this a question about whether it is there should be an active large cap or passive large cap. Because as there is a cyclicality, so now the index funds are performing better. So whether there is another cycle comes where active funds will overperform this index.
See, you will always get phases in the equity markets when active funds will outperform, specifically in the large cap space, because the large cap space is unique in the sense that you just have a top 100 stocks to invest in within this space. So, in that sense, the catch pool for investments is narrow. Now, you have seen that over the last maybe 2, 3 years, the passive funds have outperformed the active funds. But that will always happen whenever in the main indices there is one or two sectors which are heavy in terms of their weightages, but they do not perform. So, for example, for some period of time, you were witnessing that banking was not performing. Then IT has gone on the underperformance charts. So, when this happens, and you have active funds which are heavy in terms of financials, IT, in terms of their portfolio weightage, you will find that these funds will underperform. But if the reverse can also happen at any point of time, and you will also see that if you look at different time periods, there will be time periods when active funds will also outperform. So, according to me, having a passive a large cap fund in the portfolio is not a problem at all, because it will at least give you the base return without much in terms of having to worry about what the fund manager is selecting. But according to me, over a period still for the next 5 to 7, 10 years, there is still scope for active funds to give you at least 1 to 2% more. But for that, you have to select the right fund and then stick to it for a longer period of time so that the entire market cycle is taken care of. But to be on the safe side, starting off with a passive fund is not a bad strategy at all.
All right. Thank you so much, Dr. Sridhar, for sending us your query. And we hope that you'll be implementing all that's been recommended to you. We move on. Nakshita's question next, and she wants to start investing in mutual funds. She says that she can invest around 5 to 10,000 per month, and the goal is to save as much as possible for the long term. All right. We don't have her on the phone, but the kind of details she's given us. What is your recommendation for Akshita?
So, if you look at the basis from which this is starting off, there is one good point and there is one thing which needs a bit of attention. The good point is that she's focused on ensuring that the savings and the investment is up to the maximum level. The other point is that she's also looking at something which will give her between 12 to 15% rate of return. Now, when it comes to equity oriented funds over the longer term, we expect that they will outperform and give a return which is higher than inflation. But to expect a very high rate of return is also not the right approach or not the right thinking with which one should go into an investment, because over an equity cycle, you will find a long period of time wherein the returns are not up to the mark or not up to the expectation. Then you will have a sudden time period when returns spike up. So these kind of volatile situations will be there as far as the equity funds are concerned. So if one looks at the portfolio which she should construct, she should focus on equity oriented funds. The second thing is that she should at least she can start off with the flexi cap fund, because this will ensure that there is exposure across different market caps. And then as the amount goes higher, she can start adding different funds, including, say, a mid cap over a period of time. So she can start off with the flexi cap fund immediately. And my choice in that space would be Parag Parikh flexi cap.
Let's move on to our next query, which is from Shalab. And Shalab wants to invest 15,000 per month in mutual funds, and the risk appetite is medium, and time horizon for the investment is 15 years. The goal is to have a corpus of 5 crores. And for that purpose, what should be the SIP amount per month to achieve the target?
So if you look at the amount which needs to be accumulated, one, it's a slightly higher figure of 5 crores. The second, rather the major point is that there is only 15 years which is available till the time of its achievement. So if this goal has to be achieved, assuming a compounded annual rate of return of 12%, a sum of around 1 lakh rupees per month would have to be invested. So if this sum amount is invested, then the corpus will reach the goal of 5 crores. Now, in terms of starting off, there can be a mixture of three funds which are used. So there can be a large cap fund. As I said, SBI Blue Chip is a good fund which can be chosen here. A flexi cap fund in terms of Parag Parikh flexi cap, and a mid cap fund where Kotak Emerging Equities is a good fund. So if you start off with these funds, you have a strong, good large cap exposure within the portfolio. There is also a flavor of mid cap which comes into it. And mid cap, if you look at Kotak Emerging Equities, it has a very low portfolio turnover ratio, which is just around 4-5%, which means that the fund manager here focuses more on selecting the right kind of stocks and then sticking to them so till the goals are achieved. So this kind of portfolio mixture is a good one to start off with. Get more experience with these kind of funds. Then you can keep as the amount increases, because since the goal is to actually reach a sum of 1 lakh per month in terms of investment to reach the intended goal, you will have to scale up the investment quite significantly over the next several years. So in that sense, more amount has to be added to the investment. And when that happens, then a couple of more funds in different categories can be added. But this is a good way to start off. But remember here, the focus should more be on increasing the savings, increasing the investment, because the existing investment is good for a start, but it is not good enough in terms of the goals which have been set. So there's a long way to go, and that should be the main focus area.
Right. Last question for today. That's from Anand, and Anand is investing 12 to 15,000 in SIP every month, and he's holding Nippon India Large Cap, SBI Magnum Mid Cap, Parag Parikh Flexi Cap, and the target is to have a corpus of 5 crores in 10 to 15 years. And he wants to know if the SIP amount is enough to meet his targets, and also if the choice of funds is right.
So one thing in terms of the goal, which is that, I mean, it's said that the goal period is 10 to 15 years. 10 to 15 years is a long period which can make a huge amount of difference. So, I mean, let us stick to 15 years because that is more easy in terms of how much you need to invest to reach the goal. So if that is the goal, again, the amount which needs to be invested is 1 lakh per month. And since the investment is just less than 1/6 of the intended amount, there is a need again to scale up the investment significantly. And that will have to be done over the next several years as time passes. Because, see, if the goal was, if you reduce it to 10 years, then the investment amount will even go near 2 lakhs a month, which, according to me, looking at the situation, is not realistic. So your goals also need to be realistic in order to be achievable. And in that sense, try for the 15-year goal, try and increase the investment as much as possible. If you look at the existing funds, one, they are spread out across different categories of funds. So that is a good thing. Even within the category, if you look at the selection of funds, the selection is pretty good because these are good, well-performing, consistent performing funds which are outperforming their benchmark indices. So stick to them. And as the amount increases, later on, you can add 1 or 2 more categories of funds.
All right. And with that, I think it's a wrap on the show today. Thank you so much, Anna, for being on the show and helping our viewers. And before signing off, I will leave you with a WhatsApp number and email ID. Thank you so much for watching. Goodbye.